Yields back, Mr. Jordan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There have been a number of statements made by the other side this morning and now this afternoon that I just don't think are accurate. One was the court and Republicans want to go after other rights. I just want to read from the draft decision. Page 62. Majority writes in the draft opinion, and to ensure that our decision is not misunderstood or not mischaracterized, we emphasize that our decision concerns the constitutional right to abortion and no other right. Nothing in this opinion should be understood to cast doubt on precedents that do not concern abortion. They've said that there's no question what Republicans want. They want a federal law, that Republicans are radical. Is respecting the sanctity of life, Ms. Foster, is understanding that all life is precious, that we are endowed with that life by our Creator, this special right to life we have mentioned in the document that started this whole thing we call America. Is there anything really radical about that?
Not at all.
Life is precious, isn't it?
Life is the most precious thing. Without life, we can't exercise any other right.
And here's what the court said. The court said, we're not even going to make an ultimate decision. We're just going to leave it to the respective states. And the state in question in the decision that was in front of the court, that they wrote about in the draft opinion, state of Mississippi, they said this. They said 15 weeks. They said at 5 weeks, unborn child's heart begins beating. At 8 weeks, the child begins to move in the womb. At 10 weeks, vital organs begin to function. 11 weeks, the diaphragm is developing. At 12 weeks, the child has taken on human form in all relevant respects. That all happens even before the deadline they set. And we could disagree with that, but that's the case in front of the court. And they're saying we're going to let states make this decision. The state of Mississippi, through their elected officials, passed a law that said that. And they somehow say that's radical. But now what is radical in my mind is the position they take. You just asked a question of one of our colleagues. He wouldn't answer the question. But what is radical is the position they take because they say no limit. Is that right, Ms. Foster?
Absolutely accurate. You look at New York Reproductive Health Act, you looked at the Women's Health Protection Act, they go so far beyond codifying Roe, so to speak. They expand Roe. They do so much.
I was thinking about what they passed last week, or what they tried to pass last week in the United States Senate, right? We want to talk about radical? Tell the members of this committee and the American people what they tried to pass in the Senate last week.
The Women's Health Protection Act would wipe out more than 500 protective laws. It would invalidate informed consent provisions, waiting periods, parental notification, much less consent. Anything that you
go back to that one. So a minor is going to have this surgery done, this procedure done, and some legislatures elected by the people of that respective state say, you know what, we think it may make some sense to tell their mom and dad that they know what's going on. And the bill that the Senate tried to pass last week got rid of that?
My teenager couldn't get an aspirin in school without parental permission and consent, but apparently can go get an abortion without even notification under the Women's Health Protection Act.
That sounds pretty radical. And that would include all the way up, and I don't even like to talk about this because this seems just so wrong, but all the way up until just moments before that little child is about to be born. Is that right, Ms. Foster?
On their birthday.
Yeah. And frankly, it's even worse. Because we had a former Democrat governor in a state not too far from here who said it shouldn't stop there. Shouldn't stop there. Governor Northam said, actually, no, it's not even up to that point, which is just unbelievable. It's even past that when someone, the strong, could end the life of the weak. Is that right?
He did. He was on public radio and said that after the child was born, then the child would be kept comfortable while a debate ensued about whether or not the child would be given any kind of medical care.
Yeah, and as Mr. McClintock pointed out, that child certainly would have a beating heart, certainly have a functioning brain, everything else. We had a Democrat governor in a state not too far from here who said unbelievable. That's the radical position. That's the position that the American people say, wait a minute. We don't want to go there. We don't want that. And we would much prefer, I believe, to let the legislatures in the respective states put something together that makes sense for their state. I mean, you and I know where you and I are. We think all life is precious and all should be protected. But that's not what Mississippi said. They don't want to let that happen because they want the radical bill that they tried to pass in the United States Senate last week that would allow all kinds of things happen that the American people know instinctively is wrong. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Ms. Jayapal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.